Let's talk about the noble and most ancient House of Black. This is a chapter in which we get a smattering of information. And most of it isn't good. If we look at, the consequences and what we're seeing as a result of previous actions. For example, this of course is the chapter where we see that Sirius doesn't have this ability to remember his own advice about treating our inferiors properly. But we also see that both his mother's portrait and Krecher are very abusive even now towards him. Never mind the possibility of what growing up in this environment was like. Because they never really clearly tell us whether or not Krecher can in fact realize that they can hear him. Whether he thinks so or not doesn't really excuse the fact that he's, downright muttering abuse. But that's the thing we need to remember, is people, and I am counting Krecher as a people, are products of their environment. And we see this with the House of Black, most notably initially in this chapter with Sirius and Krecher, but from the entire series we can also see it with Bellatrix, Narcissa, Andromeda, and Regulus. That is to say that you are affected by everything around you. If you are constantly belittled, there is a large chance that you will then both internalize that message and also internalize that action. And then replicate it with others. And whether or not that's replicating it with everybody else, which is what Krecher seems to be doing, or replicating it towards the people that abused you. We've started seeing that with Harry. We've seen the path that it takes Sirius down, with this inability to recognize his own, that his actions make him hypocritical. Because it's, of course, not just Krecher. He replies very similarly to his mother's portrait. But it's interesting because in this moment we really do get this idea that your environment is the be-all and end-all. Because it seems to be the thing that is just crushing these two particular characters and making them so utterly explosive to anything that hits off of them, particularly again towards each other. But we've read the series. We know for one thing that Krecher is going to make a big turn when Harry very honestly starts figuring something out about Sirius and his actions towards Krecher, and changes Harry's own actions towards Krecher. we see Bellatrix and Narcissa, and Andromeda, and oddly enough, Regulus as well, who makes the most apparent turnaround. Really, actually, Bellatrix is the only one by the end of it who seems to be an honest-to-God byproduct of the environment she was raised in, with this pure-blood fanaticism, this tapestry on the wall in which we blast off anyone that we disapprove of, including her older sister for marrying a Muggle-born. Didn't even marry a Muggle in that one, like, the dude still has magic. But no, that's too close. So, like, Bellatrix becoming this fanatic to the point where she actually loses a lot of her sensibilities before she even gets to Azkaban, and that's just increased in Azkaban. But she is literally the only black in this entire family that we are seeing who allows herself to be completely embroiled in this black family environment. Sirius makes the break really early on. Andromeda does sort of a little later, because it's really when she meets Ted and makes that decision. For Sirius, it started when he got sorted into Gryffindor, and even before that, because we do see that he has some despair in regards to his family on that one. Regulus we get very late in his life, and I really, again, if we want to look at points that paint some of these characters for us, the moment in which Sirius admits that he is aware that Regulus wanted to back out and does not respect his brother for making that change. That's a big one with Sirius, because Regulus is braver for having made that decision when he did, because he was aware that it would result in his death. And in fact, we know it's even compounded from that point because he actively worked against Voldemort. This should be a character that has some respect by the Order of the Phoenix, because he was facing death and decided, I can't do this. Which isn't even a step that we've seen with Snape yet. But Regulus made that decision, and he died for it, and he did so willingly, and we'll see, in fact, he did so to make sure somebody else survived. Crutcher. He didn't do that so his brother could heap abuse on Crutcher, and Crutcher could heap abuse on Sirius. He did it so these people could survive and live in a better world. He makes that decision, and he's not the only one. Narcissa directly lies to Voldemort in the final battle in claiming that Harry is dead. She, like Regulus, recognized if she got caught that she would die, that her husband would die, that her son would die. But she was looking at Voldemort and going, it's gonna happen anyways. She saw the madness there and made the decision to protect her family and protect this kid. So the thing is, as much as we see Sirius harping on the black family, it is really Bellatrix who is the black that he is harping on. The rest of the family, as we see it, has the ability to change just as much as anybody else. And in fact, it is Bellatrix and Sirius who refuse to. Again, maybe if Sirius had more of an opportunity. But it also then becomes a question, is this a major consequence of Azkaban that we are not considering? I mean, Azkaban definitely seems like the place you just go and don't come out of. Except people really end up coming out of it. And it seems to make them worse. It really is this idea for prison for the Wizarding World is just locking them away. It's not rehabilitating them. It locks them away not only in a physical space, but it then locks them away in themselves. And in their head, they're then able to prove that everything they're thinking is wrong with the other side of society is true. And never allows for them to develop and change those opinions. So Bellatrix and Sirius then become foils to each other insofar as they're on opposite sides, but they're falling into some of the same logic traps. It's just pointing at different people. Oh, the purebloods are terrible. Oh, the mudbloods are terrible. Oh, this house elf is terrible. Oh, this house elf is terrible. And unfortunately, for both of them, it is going to get them killed. Harry is going to trust somebody that will betray him, but he learns to trust him again. He learns to show kindness, and he learns to recognize that Sirius's actions with Crutcher are just as much involved with Crutcher's actions in betraying Sirius and lying to Harry as Crutcher is involved. It's the two of them. Because we then, of course, get the last book where Crutcher, there's at least a chance that he gets caught. And he doesn't betray Harry in that moment. He makes that decision because Harry has shown him kindness, which Sirius has not. Bellatrix is going to underestimate the power of any emotion other than the will to power. She's going to trust so fully in Voldemort and herself that she's not going to see frickin' Molly Weasley coming to protect her child. Which is a lesson that she should have learned. Voldemort was initially defeated by Lily protecting her child. Bellatrix was then defeated by Molly. Sirius tells us to really judge a person not how they treat their equals, but their inferiors, and then screws Crutcher over. The thing is, the House of Black has proved that you can change, and particularly that you can change for the better. We actually have more on the side for change for the better than we do on starts good and stays good, or starts bad and stays bad. And the tapestry proves that this is not a new development. There are enough names blasted off that we get the hint that this has actually happened all the way through. We should also take note that the person blasting these names off is the woman who's in the portrait screaming a whole lot of slurs. So really, we get hints that with the Black family, straight up, maybe it's just a few bad apples. I don't think we can burn the entire Black family tree on the basis of what Sirius is saying. There are hints that there is something more. There is proof to us there is something more. Sirius just refuses to see it. Okay. With the Black family, nothing is ever easy. Because for the most part, again, it is just, it's adults controlling kids. We haven't really broken that cycle yet, have we? Maybe when there's not a war. I'm gonna keep reading, and I hope you do too. See you next time.